Helping others is noble, but helping the wrong people, that's self-destruction. Some people will take everything you give, your time, your energy, your kindness, without a second thought. They expect, they demand, and when do you finally need something in return? They vanish. We're taught to help, to be there for family, to support friends. But here's the hard truth. Not everyone deserves your help, and being kind doesn't mean being blind. Some people will drain you dry, leaving you exhausted, frustrated, and questioning your own worth. This isn't about being selfish. This is about self-respect. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." Yet, when you surround yourself with the wrong people, your thoughts become clouded, your peace disturbed, and your life burdened. Let me ask you this. Have you ever gone out of your way for someone only to be met with silence? No gratitude. No appreciation, just an expectation that you'd do it again. That's exactly what happened to a close friend of mine. He helped, he sacrificed, and in the end, he was left feeling used, betrayed, and alone. Today, we're exposing 8 types of people you should never help, even if they're family or friends. The final type, the most dangerous of them all. Stay with me, because that one could be destroying your life right now. Let's dive in. Share your experience in the comments. Have you ever helped someone who didn't deserve it? 1. The manipulator. Some people don't ask for help, they demand it, wrapped in guilt, coated in obligation. They never say, "Could you help me?" Instead they say, "If you truly cared, you would." It's never a request, it's a trap. Manipulators don't want solutions, they want power. Their problems are never really problems, they're tools, levers they use to control those around them. They paint themselves as helpless, overwhelmed, drowning, forcing you to play the role of the rescuer. But here's the truth. They don't want to be saved, because if they did, they wouldn't need you anymore. It starts small. A favor here, a sacrifice there. They make you feel needed, important. But soon it shifts. What was once help becomes expectation, and when you hesitate, guilt. They remind you of all you've done before. They question your loyalty, your kindness, your character, and before you know it, you're trapped, fixing problems that were never yours to begin with. They don't accept responsibility. It's always someone else's fault. The world is against them. And if you won't help, then you are against them too. Say no, and they'll call you selfish. Step back, and they'll make you the villain. But the real danger? The more you give, the more they take. And when they've drained you, when you have nothing left to offer, they'll find someone else. They always do. Stoicism teaches that true kindness is guided by reason, not obligation. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Epictetus said it best, you control your actions, not how others react. A manipulator thrives on your emotions, so take them away. I once knew a man who learned this the hard way. His name was Daniel. He was strong, disciplined, successful, a man others respected, but he had a weakness, his brother. Mark was always in trouble, always. Bad investments, reckless spending, toxic relationships, and every time he ran to Daniel for help, not with humility, not with accountability, but with expectation. At first, Daniel helped. It was family, and each time, Mark promised it was the last, but it never was. It was always one more loan, one last favor, one final chance. And if Daniel hesitated, Mark would remind him of their childhood, of their bond, of all the times Daniel had let him down. So Daniel gave, again and again, until one day, Mark asked for something impossible. A bailout, so large it would have crippled Daniel's future. And for the first time, Daniel refused. Mark didn't beg, he didn't reason, he attacked. "You're heartless, you've changed, you think you're better than me." And then, silence. No calls, no messages, just absence. It broke Daniel. He had sacrificed for years, and yet the moment he stopped, Mark was gone. But that's the thing about manipulators. They don't care about you, they care about what you give. Months later, Daniel heard the news. Mark had found someone else to rescue him, another friend, another lifeline. And just like that, the cycle continued. Only now, Daniel was free. Maybe you've been Daniel. Maybe you've been trapped, emotionally blackmailed into believing that saying no makes you a bad person. But it doesn't. It makes you aware. Think of it like this. Imagine you're carrying a backpack. Inside it are your responsibilities, your work, your relationships, your dreams. It's heavy, but manageable. Then someone hands you a rock, their problem. It's small, so you carry it. Then another, And before long, you're buried under the weight of everyone else's burdens. Your back aches, your knees buckle, you're crushed. But here's the truth. You were never meant to carry all of this. You were meant to walk your own path, not drag everyone else forward. So put the backpack down, take out the rocks that aren't yours, and walk away. Manipulators don't need your help. They need your energy, your time, your guilt. But you are not their crutch. You are not their solution. You are your own person. Next time someone says, if you really cared, you would help me. Stop, breathe. And remember, caring doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. It means knowing when to step back. 2. The taker. There are people in your life who don't see generosity as a gift. They see it as a resource, something they are entitled to, something they can extract from you as long as you allow it. They don't ask with gratitude. They expect. And if you stop giving, they won't thank you for all you've done. They'll resent you for closing the tap. At first, it seems harmless. They need a favor, a bit of your time, a small loan. You help because why not? But soon, patterns emerge. They always need something, and it's always urgent. They don't return the favor, they don't acknowledge the effort, and worst of all, they don't stop. Every act of kindness becomes the new baseline. Give once, and you set a precedent. Give twice, and you set an expectation. Give 3 times, and suddenly it's a duty. And the moment you hesitate, manipulation begins. They remind you of how much they depend on you. They twist the past to make you feel obligated. They say things like, I thought we were close, or I guess I was wrong about you. But here's the truth. The relationship was never about you. It was about what you could provide. A man I knew had to learn this the hard way. He was successful, disciplined, always willing to lend a hand. And there was someone, a longtime friend, who knew exactly how to use that. The friend had always struggled financially, always made bad choices, always needed help. And for years, my friend obliged. It started with small things, covering a bill, helping with rent, but as time passed, the demands grew larger. The friend never repaid, never reciprocated. It wasn't even a conversation. And every time my friend hesitated, the friend would say, "You've always been there for me. Don't change now." It was never thank you, always I need more. One day, my friend had enough. He had his own expenses, his own future to think about. So for the first time, he said no. And just like that, the friendship collapsed. There was no discussion, no reflection, just anger. The friend acted as if he had been betrayed. But what betrayal? What kind of friendship only exists as long as you're useful? What kind of bond is built on obligation, not appreciation? Stoicism teaches us that giving should be a choice, not a demand. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly, do not waste time on those who do not respect it. If someone never gives back, never acknowledges, never even considers how much you're sacrificing, they do not deserve your help. Think of it like this. Imagine a cup filled with water. This cup represents your time, your energy, your kindness. Now imagine someone drinking from it endlessly, but never refilling it. At first, you don't notice. The cup still has water, but over time it drains. And when it's empty, they don't stop. They demand more. But here's what they don't realize. You were never an unlimited source. You were a person who deserves balance, a person who should give but also receive. And if they refuse to refill the cup, then the only solution, the only logical solution is to stop pouring. This isn't about being selfish. It's about self-respect. When you constantly help a taker, you're not being generous, you're being used. There's a difference between helping someone in need and enabling dependency. One is kindness, the other, a trap. So next time someone asks, pause. Look at the pattern. Do they ever give back? Do they ever acknowledge? Or do they just expect? Because if the only thing holding your relationship together is what you provide, then it's not a relationship. It's an exploitation. And you deserve better. 3. The envious success doesn't just change your life. It changes the way people see you. And not always in the way you expect. Some will cheer for you, inspired by your growth. Others will remain indifferent, focused on their own path. But then, there's a third group, the envious. They don't admire success. They resent it. They don't see your progress as something to be celebrated. They see it as a threat. At first, it's subtle, a forced smile, a backhanded compliment. Wow, must be nice. Or, not everyone gets the same lucky breaks. They don't say it outright, but the message is clear. They believe you didn't earn this. that somehow life gave you an advantage they never had. But you know the truth. You know the long nights, the sacrifices, the failures no one saw. You know that your success isn't luck, it's discipline, consistency, and relentless effort. Yet to acknowledge that, to admit that you worked for this, that would mean they have no excuse. That would mean they too could have made different choices, and that's something they can't accept. So they do what envious people always do. They undermine, they diminish, they plant doubt. They won't attack directly. That would require courage. Instead, they use whispers. They frame your success as selfish. They question your motives. They say you've changed. Not because you have, but because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. And when you face setbacks, they won't offer support. They'll offer relief. Because in their mind, your failure isn't just your problem, it's their vindication. Envy isn't just resentment, it's competition. A game they play without telling you the rules. And the goal? To make sure you never feel truly proud of what you've built. Stoicism teaches that you cannot control the envy of others, but you can control whether or not you let it affect you. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If you allow their resentment to shape your mindset, if you start apologizing for your success, you've already given them power. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain. You've spent years climbing, through hardship, through sacrifice, through moments when you almost gave up. Now you've gained altitude, you've earned perspective, and then you hear voices from below. Not from those who are climbing beside you, struggling, pushing forward, falling, and getting back up. They respect the effort. They understand the weight of the journey. No, the voices come from those who never left the ground. They look up at you, but instead of feeling inspired, they feel insulted. Instead of thinking, if they can do it, so can I, they think the only reason they're up there is because they had it easier. And so they throw stones. Not to climb, but to pull you back down. This is where most people make their first mistake. They stop moving. They look back. They try to explain themselves, to justify, to prove they deserve to be where they are. And in doing so, they waste time, energy, and momentum, all for people who were never going to climb anyway. That is the trap of the envious. They don't need to succeed. They just need to keep you from succeeding too. And here's what makes this so dangerous. Sometimes, the envious aren't strangers. Sometimes they're the people closest to you. A friend who once supported you until your progress outgrew theirs. A sibling who feels left behind. A partner who resents your ambition. It's a painful realization. You thought they were happy for you. You thought they were proud. But instead, your success became a mirror, reflecting back their own fears, their own regrets, their own lack of progress. This is where most people hesitate. They make excuses. They don't really mean it. Maybe I am being selfish, but growth has a cost, and sometimes that cost is letting go of those who refuse to grow with you. If someone in your life belittles your achievements, downplays your effort, or makes you feel guilty for outgrowing the past, step away. You are not responsible for their insecurity. You are not responsible for their failure to act. Let them complain. Let them judge. Let them stay where they are. You have a mountain to climb. 4. The ungrateful you do something kind. You offer your time, your energy, your resources. And what do you get in return? Silence. No gratitude, no acknowledgement, not even a simple thank you. At first, you tell yourself it doesn't matter. You didn't help for recognition. You helped because it was the right thing to do. But then something changes. The more you give, the more they expect. It's no longer kindness, it's an obligation. And when you stop, they don't reflect on everything you've done for them. They don't appreciate the countless ways you've supported them. They just ask one thing, why aren't you helping me now? There's a certain type of person who sees generosity not as a gift, but as a right. They believe that once you've given, you owe them forever. If you don't meet their demands, you're the bad guy. If you refuse to help, you're selfish. They don't remember the times you saved them. They only remember the times you said no. Gratitude isn't just about saying thanks. It's about recognizing effort, about respecting sacrifice. A grateful person values what you give. An ungrateful person expects it. They feel entitled to it. And that's where the damage begins. Because once they believe they deserve your help, once they think it's their right, there is no limit. The moment you stop, they feel betrayed. They act as if you've taken something from them, as if you owe them more. But Stoicism teaches us this. If someone does not appreciate what you give, stop giving. Marcus Aurelius said it best. If someone is ungrateful for what you have done, let them deal with their own fate. There was a man I once knew, a hard worker, disciplined, self-sufficient. He had a friend, someone he had known since childhood. Over the years, this friend had struggled. Bad jobs, bad relationships, bad decisions. And every time this man stepped in to help, he loaned money, he gave advice, he even let his friend stay with him rent-free for months. And each time, he expected nothing in return. No repayment, no favors, just a simple acknowledgement. But it never came. Instead, the demands grew. His friend needed more money, more time, more patience. And one day, when the man finally refused, when he finally said, "I can't do this anymore," his friend didn't say thank you. He didn't acknowledge the years of help. He simply got angry. "I thought you were different. You've changed. After everything, you're just going to abandon me?" Not once did he say, "I appreciate what you've done." Because to him, it wasn't help. It was expected. That's the reality of ungrateful people. They don't see the weight you carry. They only notice when you stop carrying it. Imagine you're holding a glass of water. At first, it's light. You can hold it effortlessly. But what if you hold it for an hour? A day? A year? The weight doesn't change, but your ability to carry it does. And at some point, your arm will give out. This is what happens when you give to those who never appreciate it. At first, it's easy. You think it costs nothing, but over time, the burden drains you. And when you finally let go, when you finally drop the glass, they don't ask why you were holding it for so long. They just blame you for letting it fall. Gratitude is the foundation of healthy relationships. It's what makes an act of kindness meaningful. When you help someone who is grateful, they don't just take, they acknowledge, they appreciate, and in their own way they give back, whether in words, in gestures, or simply in the way they treat you. But the ungrateful, they don't recognize effort. They only recognize absence. As long as you keep giving, they say nothing. The moment you stop, they act as if you've wronged them. And the worst part, they will never change. They won't suddenly wake up and realize your value. They won't have an epiphany where they say, "Wow, I never realized how much you've done for me." No, they will just move on to the next person, the next opportunity, the next source of free support. You were never special to them. You were just convenient. So ask yourself, who in your life has turned generosity into expectation? Who takes without giving, demands without acknowledging, expects without appreciating? Because if someone isn't grateful today, they won't be grateful tomorrow. And if you keep giving, if you keep sacrificing for someone who only takes, the only thing you'll have left is emptiness. So stop, walk away, and let them carry their own weight. 5. The energy drainer. There's a weight that doesn't sit on your shoulders but on your mind. A kind of exhaustion that isn't physical but emotional. It lingers after a conversation. It follows you long after you've walked away. It's the weight of someone else's negativity. Some people don't want solutions. They don't want advice. They don't want to grow, change, or improve. What they want is an audience. Someone to absorb their endless complaints, their cycles of misery, their self-imposed suffering. Every interaction with them feels like a battle. Not because they challenge you, but because they drain you. They enter the room with a sigh, with a problem, with a new reason why the world is unfair. They never take action, never seek a way out, only a way to pull you into their storm. You offer advice, they dismiss it. You suggest a solution, they find a problem with it. You tell them they have the power to change, they tell you their situation is different, and yet they keep coming back. Because what they want isn't change, it's attention. Their suffering isn't an accident, it's a pattern. And you become a supporting character in their endless drama. You're not there to help, you're there to witness, to nod, to sympathize, to listen to the same complaints, the same excuses, the same cycle again and again. At first you think, I can help them, I can show them the way out. But the more you try, the more you realize, they don't want out. They don't want to improve their life. They want to be the victim. Because being the victim means they never have to take responsibility. It means they never have to change. And if you're not careful, their negativity seeps into you. Their hopelessness becomes your exhaustion. Their constant problems become your burden. And before you know it, your energy is gone. Stoicism warns us about this. You become like those you spend the most time with. Epictetus knew that surrounding yourself with the weak, the bitter, the endlessly complaining means their mindset becomes yours. Their world becomes yours. And the more time you give them, the less time you have for your own peace, your own growth, your own sanity. You've felt it before. A conversation that left you exhausted, a friendship that felt more like a job, a relationship where you were always the one lifting, carrying, supporting until you had nothing left. At first it's small, just one bad conversation, one frustrating moment. But over time, their pessimism poisons your perspective. Their self-pity dulls your ambition. And soon you find yourself seeing the world through their eyes, a place of limits, of unfairness, of endless problems with no solutions. But here's the truth. You don't have to carry what isn't yours. Imagine you're walking through a market and someone hands you a heavy bag. You take it without thinking. Then another person hands you a bag. Then another. Soon your arms are full. You can barely move. You never chose to carry these burdens. You just kept accepting them. And the worst part? The people who handed you those bags, they walk away freely. They don't carry anything themselves. They let you do it for them. That's what it feels like to carry the emotional weight of an energy drainer. They offload their problems onto you, not to solve them, but to relieve themselves. And the more you take, the more they give. Until one day, you collapse under the weight of someone else's misery. But Stoicism teaches that you are not responsible for anyone else's mind, but your own. You cannot fix someone who refuses to fix themselves. You cannot save someone who is committed to their own suffering. So stop trying. If someone is drowning but refuses to swim, you can't let them pull you under. If someone is trapped in their own storm, you can't let them drag you into it. And if someone refuses to take responsibility for their own life, that is not your burden to bear. Walking away doesn't mean you're cruel. It means you value your peace more than their chaos. Your energy is yours. Your peace is yours. And if you give it away too freely, you won't have any left for yourself. So the next time someone comes to you, not for help but for another opportunity to complain, to drain, to unload, pause, ask yourself, is this helping them or is this just taking from me? Because you are not their emotional dumping ground, and you don't owe anyone your sanity. 6. The victim thinker. Some people carry chains not in their hands but in their minds. They believe life has wronged them, that fate is against them, that no matter what they do, the world will always conspire to keep them down. They are prisoners of their own thinking. They don't see obstacles as challenges. They see them as proof that life is unfair. They don't take responsibility for their choices. They blame the system, the people around them, even bad luck. But the worst part? They don't want solutions. They want sympathy. They want someone to nod, to agree, to confirm their beliefs that they are helpless, that life is cruel, that they are just victims of circumstance. They don't seek help to change. They seek help to complain. You've met them before. The ones who always talk about how things happen to them, never because of them. The ones who refuse to take accountability. The ones who, even when given a clear way forward, always have an excuse. They say they want things to get better. But when you offer advice, they dismiss it. When you suggest action, they find reasons why it won't work. Because for them, the struggle is the identity. If they stop being the victim, they have nothing left. And the more you try to help them, the deeper they sink into their mindset. Every solution you offer is met with resistance. Every effort you make only fuels their dependence. And in the end, they don't become stronger, you become exhausted. Epictetus warned about this. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The problem isn't their circumstances, it's their perspective. You can't save someone who is committed to staying powerless. Imagine a boat sinking in the middle of a lake. You swim over, you throw them a rope. But instead of grabbing it, they say, "Why did this happen to me?" Instead of paddling, they say, "This isn't fair." Instead of trying, they just watch the water rise and expect you to carry them. If you let them, they will drag you down too. Now imagine another person in the same situation. They're struggling, but they want to survive. They fight, they reach for help, they try to swim. You throw them a rope, and they use it to pull themselves up. They don't waste time asking why the boat sank. They focus on saving themselves. That is the difference. Life will never be easy. Everyone faces struggle, setbacks, and misfortune. But the people who survive and thrive aren't the ones who complain. They're the ones who adapt, who take responsibility, who act. The victim thinker refuses to do this. They would rather blame than take control. They would rather feel sorry for themselves than make changes. And the more you support them, the more they use you as a crutch, not to walk, but to lean on forever. And here's the dangerous part. If you spend too much time around them, their mindset infects yours. Their helplessness seeps into your thoughts. Their negativity makes you question your own decisions. Their endless complaints start sounding reasonable. And before you know it, you've stopped moving forward too. You cannot afford to carry a victim thinker. If someone refuses to take ownership of their life, that is their decision, not yours. And this is where most people make the mistake. They think they can change a victim mindset with logic, with advice, with endless support. But the truth is, the only way to break the cycle is for them to wake up on their own. If they don't want to help themselves, you will never be able to help them. So what do? You stop trying to be the hero in someone else's story. You stop carrying people who refuse to walk. It's not cold to walk away. It's not selfish to stop engaging. It's simply recognizing a truth that Stoicism has taught for centuries. You are responsible for yourself, and they are responsible for themselves. You can't control their actions, but you can control whether or not you keep letting them drain you. So step back. Let them complain. Let them make excuses. Let them stay where they are. Because you have a life to live. 7. The idle, they dream big. They talk about all the things they want to achieve, the goals they'll conquer, the future they'll build. But days pass, then months, then years, and nothing happens. Why? Because they never take the first step. They live in a state of endless potential, always talking, always planning, always waiting for the perfect moment. But that moment never comes because they don't move. They want the rewards of success but refuse to embrace the struggle. They admire discipline in others but reject it in themselves. They see people rise and convince themselves that one day they'll do the same without ever putting in the work. And yet, they expect help. They expect guidance, support, opportunities, without taking a single step forward on their own. And here's the worst part. If you help them, if you carry them, they don't become grateful. They become entitled. I had a cousin like this. He was always full of ideas, business plans, projects, investments. He talked about success like it was already guaranteed. One day I'll have my own company, he'd say. I just need a little help to get started. So I helped. I gave him books to read. He never opened them. I introduced him to successful people. He never followed up. I even helped him get a job, just so he could earn his own money, start building discipline, start learning what it means to work. He quit in 3 weeks, not because the job was too hard, not because he had a better plan, but because he never really wanted to work. He wanted success handed to him. He wanted to be given what others had to fight for. And when I stopped helping, he found someone else. That's what the idle do. They move from one person to the next, always looking for another favor, another shortcut. Because why put in effort when someone else will do the work for you? And that's where the real danger lies. When you keep helping an idle person, you don't inspire them to take action. You enable them to avoid it. You think, maybe if I give them one more push, they'll finally start. But they won't, because the more you do for them, the less they do for themselves. They become dependent, not on effort, but on your effort. And when you stop, they won't suddenly wake up. They'll just find someone else to carry them. Imagine a race. Some people sprint, some jog, some struggle, but they keep moving. And then there's the idle person, sitting at the starting line, waiting for someone to carry them. They don't even try. They don't even start. But they expect to cross the finish line anyway. And if you're the one they've latched onto, guess what happens? You end up running their race for them. You spend your time, your energy, your resources, while they sit back and reap the benefits. And the worst part? They don't even appreciate it. Because in their mind, they deserved it all along. Stoicism doesn't just teach us to act, it teaches us to avoid those who refuse to. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Stop talking about what a good man is, be one." Success isn't about words, it's about action, about taking steps even when they're small, even when they're difficult, even when you fail. But the idle person? They will never understand this. They will keep waiting, and the longer you help them, the more you enable their inaction. If someone refuses to take control of their own life, let them sit at the starting line. Let them watch as others move forward. Because if they're not willing to walk, you have no obligation to carry them. 8. The constant complainer. Some people see the world through a lens of endless dissatisfaction. No matter what happens, it's never enough. Nothing is good, nothing is right. Nothing brings them joy. They complain about work, about family, about society. They complain about things that happened years ago and things that haven't even happened yet. And the worst part? They don't want solutions. They just want an audience. They are black holes of negativity, absorbing all the energy around them and giving nothing back. Spend too much time around them and you'll feel it. That drain on your energy. That subtle shift from optimism to frustration. That creeping exhaustion that comes from listening to someone who refuses to be happy. They act as if the world is against them. But in reality, their own mindset is their prison. And if you let them, they will pull you into it. Stoicism teaches that happiness is an internal state, not something dictated by external events. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The constant complainer refuses to accept this truth. They believe happiness is something that happens to them, not something they create. They wait for the perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect moment to finally feel satisfied. But since perfection doesn't exist, they remain stuck in their cycle of endless frustration. And they don't just keep themselves trapped, they pull others in. You've seen it before. You try to encourage them, but they shoot down every positive idea. You offer solutions, but they reject them. You try to distance yourself, but they pull you back in with yet another complaint. It's a never-ending cycle. And if you engage with them too much, their negativity infects you. Their mindset slowly becomes yours. Their frustration becomes your frustration. Before you know it, you start seeing more problems than opportunities, more obstacles than solutions, more reasons to complain than reasons to act. And just like that, they win. Imagine sitting in a room filled with smoke. At first, it's annoying. Then it gets uncomfortable. Then it becomes unbearable. But instead of leaving, you stay and try to fix it, opening windows, fanning the air, looking for ways to clear it out. But the smoke keeps coming, because the person next to you is still lighting more fires. At some point, you have two choices: keep fighting the smoke, or walk out of the room. That's exactly how it is with constant complainers. You can waste your energy trying to clear the air, or you can simply remove yourself from their negativity altogether. Because if someone refuses to see the good in life, that's their choice. But it doesn't have to be yours. Stoicism teaches us to control what we can and ignore what we can't. You can't control someone else's attitude. You can't make someone appreciate what they have. You can't force someone to see life differently. But you can control who you spend time with. You can choose to step away. You can choose not to engage. And that's not selfish. That's self-preservation. Because if you let their negativity take root in your mind, it will grow like a weed, choking out any sense of gratitude, peace, or ambition. And that's a price far too high to pay. So what do? You set boundaries. You stop feeding their complaints with attention. You stop wasting energy on people who refuse to be happy. And most importantly, you protect your peace. Because that is something far too valuable to sacrifice for someone who never intends to change. Life is too short to waste on the wrong people. We often think that helping others is always a virtue, but Stoicism teaches us otherwise. True wisdom isn't about giving endlessly, it's about knowing who deserves your time, energy, and effort. Some people take but never give. Some drain your emotional energy without a second thought. Some manipulate, complain, or refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. And if you let them, they will pull you down with them. That is why boundaries are not just important, they are necessary. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." A good person is not someone who sacrifices themselves for those who refuse to grow. A good person chooses wisely where to invest their kindness. So today, take a step back. Look at the people in your life. Are you helping someone who actually wants to change? Or are you carrying someone who refuses to walk? The answer will shape your future. Because the more time you spend on the wrong people, the less time you have for the right ones. The ones who inspire you. The ones who push you forward. The ones who appreciate your help and grow because of it. So make your choice. Protect your peace, and remember, you don't owe your energy to anyone who refuses to respect it. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone who was holding you back? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else take that step toward freedom.